Angela was hurrying home. She had to cook something nice. Today was Friday, so her husband was going to come home a little later than usual, so she should have enough time. She popped into the grocery store and bought a bottle of good wine. She and her husband had reconciled only a month ago. It hurt Angela to think about how Jasper had left her back then. He told her that she'd changed, and she stopped being the person he knew, so he got bored. Angela looked at him and couldn't understand. "Jasper, I'll fix everything. Just tell me what it is." "You won't fix anything, because there's nothing to fix anymore." Terrified, Angela looked at him packing his bags. "Jasper, where are you going?" "I've met a woman who's just ideal. Don't try to make me stay if you want me to be happy." Angela sat on the edge of the bed. She was tired. "How long will it take this time?" Angela's husband would fall in and out of life from time to time. He would sometimes describe it like a spark, and sometimes like a burst. That's how he would describe it. It was already the third time that he was leaving. Angela was starting to get used to it. He wouldn't come home at night, and then would come up with stupid explanations. Jasper was leaving, but he did it only when he found true love. He would say that this time the love was real. Every time it was the same. Angela stood up and helped him pack. She felt empty, so she wanted to go to bed. Every time her husband left, she thought that this was it. She was left alone. But after a month or two, he would come back. Angela would cook for him, and he would praise her cooking and say that all women were greedy and all of them were liars, and there was no one better than her. Angela smiled sadly. It was strange that someone would fall for her husband. He was frail, never seen inside of a gym, and quite avaricious. Although maybe he was like this only with her. The last time he was away for 3 weeks. Angela cried at night. She felt sorry for herself and him. But less than a month later, a doorbell rang. Angela opened the door. Her husband was standing at the doorway. He said, "I'm back," and smiled widely. Before, Angela would hug him. Angela would cry. And then he would follow her everywhere and ask her to forgive him. After a few days, Angela would forgive him and life would get back to normal. Today was their marriage anniversary. Angela hoped that Jasper wouldn't forget about it. She quickly prepared a salad, put a chicken in the oven, and started setting the table. She had some time left to freshen up. Angela chose a dress, fixed her makeup, thought for a minute, and pulled her hair up. She looked more attractive this way. Jasper was going to be home soon. She sat in the kitchen and waited. It was 11 o'clock, but he still wasn't home. Angela opened the wine, poured herself a glass, congratulated herself, and went to bed. When it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, she heard a door shut and Jasper lay down on the couch in the living room. "He's back." Angela pressed her face against the pillow and started crying. She was so tired of this. She was a young, fine woman. But why? Why didn't he love her? In the morning, Angela got up while Jasper was still asleep. She went to the kitchen and then to the bathroom where she saw her husband's shirt in the washing machine. She took it out. It smelled like women's perfume and there was lipstick on its collar. She took the shirt and went to the room. "Jasper!" He opened his eyes, looked at Angela, saw the shirt she was holding, and sat down on the couch. "What? You don't let me sleep." "Jasper, what is this?" Angela showed him the lipstick stains. "God, how do I know? Maybe the shirt got stained accidentally, or you did it on purpose just to pick a fight with me." "Jasper, this is red lipstick. I never use red lipstick. Why is the red lipstick on your collar?" Jasper lay back down. "Lipstick? Why do you think it's lipstick? As if things could get stained with something else than lipstick. There are a lot of red things. Look at her, acting like an investigator." Angela sighed. "Jasper, it was our wedding anniversary yesterday, and you spend it with another woman." Jasper pulled his blanket on and mumbled, "Congratulations. Let me sleep now." Angela looked at him and thought about why she needed all of this. She went to the hallway and took a big travel bag. She quietly went to the bedroom and very carefully, not to wrinkle anything, started packing Jasper's stuff into that bag. Of course, one bag wouldn't be enough, but she was packing the most important things. Jasper loved clothes. He had much more outfits than Angela did. When the bag was full, she zipped it and put his documents in the side pocket. She heard Jasper get up and go to the shower. Angela brought the bag back to the hallway and put it where Jasper would immediately notice. She didn't want to talk to him. She went back to the bedroom and closed the door. Sometime later, she heard Jasper get out of the shower. It was quiet for 5 minutes, and then she heard his steps. Angela turned her face toward the wall. The door opened. "Do you think you could scare me?" "Packing my bag. Thank you. I'll be happy to leave this house. I'll be fine. There are a lot of people waiting for me, but who needs you?" Jasper told a lot of offensive stuff to her, but Angela kept silent. When he was finished, she turned around and looked at him. "Please, leave the keys on the hallway cupboard." Jasper was startled. "I will. Don't you worry. Just don't run after me down the street and beg me to come back." Angela lay down again. She heard her husband getting ready and calling someone. Then the front door slammed hard. Angela cried and howled, biting her pillow. She wouldn't let him into her life again. How much more could she struggle with? He still wouldn't change, or would he? Angela started living without her husband. She was already used to it. He left before. Once he was gone for 6 months until his new love kicked him out, and he came home with guilty eyes. Angela suffered so much when he cheated on her for the first several times that she did not know how to live on. And then she began to get used to being humiliated. She went to work, went to the store, ate and slept. In general, she lived an ordinary, boring life. One evening, she was going home and ran into the supermarket and almost immediately saw her husband. He was with a young woman. She was wearing an unbuttoned coat, bright red lips. They laughed as they picked out a frying pan. Angela turned around and rushed out of the store. She ran home, practically not seeing the road, went to the kitchen at home and sat in the dark. She sat like this for a while and then decided that she needed to urgently redo the apartment, to make it the way she wanted it to be, throw away all the garbage and change the colors. Jasper liked blue and Angela liked gray, but Angela has always done what Jasper likes. It was 8 o'clock in the evening. Angela started working. First, she needed to collect everything that reminded her of her husband. She took out large trash bags and began dumping old stuff into them, his old clothes and even Jasper's favorite mug. She dragged these bags up the stairs and realized that she couldn't do it. They were very heavy. A homeless man sat near the window on the ground floor. They often came in to warm up, but usually there were a lot of them, very drunk and noisy, and this man was sober. He sat with his legs crossed and looked out the window. He saw Angela, jumped off the windowsill like a schoolboy and said, "Let me help you." At first, Angela wanted to tell him to go to hell, but she realized that she would not be able to drag all this garbage. So she let him help her. He easily picked up her bags and carried them to the trash. Angela held the door open for him until he returned. After that, he was helping her, so she could not leave him in the cold. He looked at her gratefully and settled back on the windowsill. Angela was surprised by his look, so smart and insightful. She returned home. Now she wanted to throw the table away. This table was Jasper's. There once was a laptop in it, the laptop Jasper used to search for ladies. The laptop was Angela's gift. She gave it to Jasper for his birthday. But when it came to the table, she decided to throw it away. It was small but extremely heavy. Angela was able to drag it only to the hallway. She couldn't go any further. She looked at the table. Can she cut it in half or break it? No, the neighbors would get angry. It was late. She opened the door. The homeless man was still sitting on the windowsill. "Hey." He turned around. "Could you help me again?" He approached her, looked at the table, and asked, "Where does this go? Also trash?" Angela smiled. "Right there." She handed the man the key to the intercom. "It's a spare one. I don't need it." The man smiled. Angela was surprised to see his even white teeth. Do homeless people have such smiles? The man picked up the table and carried it down, and Angela went to the kitchen. She opened the refrigerator, quickly put patties with pasta on a plate, and put them in the microwave. She made coffee. When she opened the door, the man was back in his place. Angela brought him a tray of food, set it down, and said, "Just ring the doorbell and I'll pick up the dishes." The man looked at her in amazement. "Thanks a lot." "You're welcome." Angela left, but the question kept spinning in her head. I wonder what made this man homeless. He doesn't seem old and he doesn't look like a drunk. Throughout the week, Angela was cleaning her apartment, and the man was around. He never asked for it. Angela called him if she couldn't handle something. She gave him food. One day, Angela could not reach the curtain rail, or rather, she could reach it but couldn't fix it. She even found something that her husband sometimes screwed things on. Angela turned it over in her hands and didn't know what to do. The rail had been hanging crooked for a year and was about to break completely soon. She looked out the door. The man was in his usual place. Angela went down the stairs. "Could you help me again?" The man, whose name, as it turns out, was Chad, looked up at her and smiled. "Of course. Tell me what to do." She took him into the apartment and pointed to the rail. Chad corrected everything very quickly. He said that now it would never break. He was about to leave, but Angela stopped him. "Would you like some coffee?" Chad turned around. "It would be great. I love coffee so much, but I don't get to drink it often." Angela made coffee. "Excuse me, have you been homeless for a long time?" The man smiled. "Angela, don't apologize. I can't answer your questions anyway. I don't remember anything except for the last 2 years. I remember waking up in the basement in these clothes, that's all. I've been homeless ever since. I think that if I was wearing these clothes, then I probably used to be a homeless person. I don't know why. Of course, I tried to get a job, but I don't even have a passport. And then I just gave up." Angela listened and understood that he may have a home and family somewhere, but he may never remember it. Chad left and Angela went to bed. The next day, Chad was not at his usual place. Angela was surprised. She was so used to seeing him there. 2 more days passed, but he still wasn't there. Angela got worried. Where could he go? 3 days later, she went outside in the evening. She decided to go around the neighborhood, hoping to meet him and ask what happened. She didn't find Chad. She met a bunch of people. They were homeless. They sat in the gazebo and sang. Angela approached them. "Excuse me, where can I find Chad? He is, one of your people." The old man laughed. "What do you need him for?" But the second guy pulled him back. "He fell ill. He is lying down in that basement with high temperature." He pointed to the basement of an uninhabited house. Angela went there. She lit a flashlight on her phone and almost immediately found Chad. He was lying on some kind of tattered mattress, breathing heavily. Angela touched him on the shoulder. "Chad?" He opened his eyes. "You?" "Chad, can you stand up? I'll help you." "Yeah, probably." Angela helped Chad up and they started walking. It was hard for him to walk, very hard, but he tried. It was already dark outside. Angela thought it was good that the neighbors did not see how she was dragging a homeless person from the street to her house. At home, Angela immediately made Chad take a handful of pills. 20 minutes later, he felt better. Sweat started dripping off him. Chad looked at Angela. "Excuse me, can I take a shower? I haven't had a shower in a month." Angela showed him everything, gave him a towel, and brought her husband's dressing gown. It was big. Someone gave it to Jasper and didn't get the size right, so it was put in the closet and was brand new. "Chad, just don't take long. Your temperature dropped temporarily and will soon start to rise again." Chad nodded and went into the shower. Angela went to the kitchen. She needed to cook something for him. She heard the door open. A handsome young man was looking at her. "Angela, I'm sorry. I just found a disposable razor. I shaved off my beard." Chad tried to refuse food and said he didn't want to eat, but Angela almost forced him to eat half a bowl of soup. "Thank you very much. I should go, otherwise I'll overstay my welcome." He stood up and Angela noticed how he swayed. She stood up. "No one is going anywhere. I'll make a bed for you on the couch. Until you get better, stay here." Chad looked at her in amazement. "I'm a homeless person. Are you sure?" "So what?" Angela made a bed for him. Chad immediately lay down. He fell asleep before his head touched the pillow. A groan woke her up at night. Angela ran into the room and touched Chad's forehead. He was burning and tossing around. Angela picked up her phone. It was 3 in the morning, but Angela hoped that her friend would understand. "Hi, Kate. Hi. I'm sorry. Did I wake you up?" "No way. I'm on duty." "Good. You see, I have a man here. He has a terrible temperature. He is delusional. I don't know how to help him." "Well, call an ambulance." "Kate, I'll explain everything later. But he has no documents, none at all." There was a pause. "Yeah, loneliness didn't do you any good. Look at this. Unknown men at night. I will come, but only on one condition. You will tell me everything later." "Good. Deal." Kate worked in an ambulance. Angela didn't even hope that she'd be so lucky. Soon, the doorbell rang. Kate entered with a large suitcase. She examined Chad and gave him several injections. Then she called Angela into the kitchen. "Tell me, where are they handing out such handsome men? He's a dream. Look at that body." Kate rolled her eyes. Angela hit her lightly. "You have a husband, Brian, and 3 kids at home." Kate laughed. "Well, yes, Brian won't understand." Then she got serious. "Angela, I'm sure he has pneumonia, a strong one. He would have to go to the hospital." "How? I'm telling you, he doesn't even have a passport." Kate thought for a bit. "Okay, let's do it. I'll write you prescriptions, and you'll get it all, and you'll do the injections. But how will you go to work?" "You won't believe it, but I've been on vacation since yesterday." "That's good." Kate gave her a bunch of prescriptions. Angela diligently wrote down what medications and in which order she should inject and give. In the morning, while Chad was sleeping, she ran to the pharmacy. When she came back home, Chad woke up from the door slam. He sat up abruptly, coughed, and fell back onto the pillow. He looked at Angela. She laid out the medications on the table, read something on a piece of paper, and laid them out again. Then she washed her hands and began filling the syringe. Chad looked at her with frightening eyes. "Don't tell me you're afraid of needles." Chad shook his head and closed his eyes. After the injection, Angela brewed broth for him and made hot tea. "I feel so awful. Why are you taking care of me?" Angela was silent. She couldn't say that she really liked him. By evening, Chad felt a little better. Angela brought a large mug of tea for herself and him and put down a bowl of biscuits. She turned on the TV to watch her favorite series. Chad sipped his tea and looked at Angela. Young, about 35 years old. Pretty. Angela's beauty was discreet. That is, you may walk by and not notice. But if you look closely, if she smiled, you could see that she was very attractive. "Excuse me, but where's your husband?" "I don't have a husband anymore. I am free as a bird. My husband preferred other ladies to me. I endured, forgave him, and then I just got tired, and now I'm alone." Angela laughed. She just realized that she felt so good. No lies, no waiting for him. Chad paused and then said, "I do not understand how anyone could cheat on you. How could anyone leave you?" Angela looked closely at Chad and met his eyes. Angela hurried off to the kitchen. The next day they woke up to a knock on the door. Only Kate could come at such an early hour and ring the bell so instinctively. Angela opened the door. Kate was smiling. "I hope I'm not intruding." They went into the room. Chad looked at the doctor and then Angela. "Well, young man, let's examine you." Kate took out a small medical case from her bag. She took Chad's temperature and listened to his lungs. "Well, it's good. You're getting better." She and Angela went into the kitchen. "Come on, tell me everything." Angela closed the door and told her everything. Kate listened without interrupting, occasionally shaking her head. "Yes, that's a hell of a situation. As a doctor, I can tell you for sure that this man has not been homeless all his life. His body shows that he has worked out in the gym. All the muscles are pumped up very evenly. I wonder what happened to him. Does he remember anything at all?" "No, absolutely nothing. Only waking up in the basement." "Okay, I know a doctor who deals with such cases. Do you have any money? It's not cheap." "Yes, I've always been saving up." "So, agreed." "Of course. Let's just wait until he gets better." Kate left and Angela hurried to tell Chad everything. "Imagine if you remember everything, then we can make you all the documents and you'll be able to live like a normal person." Kate called 2 days later. The doctor was waiting for them on Friday. Angela began to bustle about. She needed to buy him clothes. Chad said that it was unnecessary. Angela didn't know how to tell him that she threw his clothes away. She went to the store and Chad was lying and thinking that if only he weren't homeless. He wondered if Angela would like him. Chad understood that Angela was an amazing woman. He could barely keep himself from touching her. Angela returned with new clothes. Chad was very embarrassed but put everything on to see if the size was right. When he did, Angela simply did not recognize him. The man that all women dreamt of was standing in front of her. She needed to take him to the hairdresser. In the evening, Chad had his hair cut. Angela couldn't take her eyes off him. If only he liked her. Oh, if only. They would get through everything together. In the evening, they were having tea when suddenly, Angela felt Chad's eyes on her. She looked up and they kissed. She woke up first in the morning. She was lying and looking at Chad. He was so good. Chad suddenly opened his eyes, hugged her and said, "Let's not go anywhere. Well, let's think of something, make documents. What if I had an evil wife or 5 children in my previous life? Chad made scary eyes. I don't want it. I want to be with you. Angela said they needed to get ready. Chad, don't be a baby. Come on, get dressed. They arrived at the clinic. Chad went to get tested. The doctor said it was going to take at least 2 hours. Angela waited patiently. Then the doctor met with them. So Chad, you are in excellent physical shape. I can tell you that you were not addicted to alcohol, and it seems that you never smoked. You don't have any chronic diseases, but you have a rather large scar on your head, like from a hit. Do you remember when you got it? No, I do not remember. When I woke up, my head hurt terribly. There was blood, but somehow everything healed quickly. I got it. That's the reason. We'll start medication, and if it doesn't help, then we'll do hypnosis. I warn you, you may get a headache, but won't last long. A week later, Angela returned to work. Chad didn't have any headaches. Angela already thought that nothing would help him. It was so nice to come back home where you are expected and loved. They haven't done any paperwork yet. The doctor said to wait. Kate was really happy for Angela. She and her husband even visited her. Chad and Kate's husband became friends, but Brian said several times that Chad's face was familiar to him. One day, Angela was hurrying home as usual, but there was no light in the windows. She opened the door with the key and entered. There was no one at home. It was dark and quiet. Angela turned on the light. There was a note on the kitchen table. Angela, I remembered everything. I need to leave for a while. I took some money from you. I will definitely return it. Angela sat down at the table. That was it. She knew that Chad would never come back. He definitely had a family. Yes, of course he did. Angela picked up the phone and called her friend. Kate, can you come and bring something to drink? What happened? He remembered everything and left. An hour later, Kate and Brian were at her place. They silently sat down and drank. Angela cried. Kate began to console her, and Brian went into the room and turned on the TV. 10 minutes later, he shouted, "Come here." The women rushed into the room. They were showing the news on the TV. A capital businessman who disappeared without a trace 2 years ago was found today. Brian shouted, I told you I've seen that face before. He was on TV. He owns factories, newspapers, and steamboats. On the TV, they said that the businessman's wife and his best friend were taken into custody. The man was homeless, and then he remembered everything and came to the police. His father recognized him, all the office workers. It turns out that his wife and friend were lovers. They hoped that the man would not survive and that he would be buried like a homeless person. But everything turned out differently. Angela understood that now there was no hope that Chad would return. Well, his name was Trevor, not Chad. A week passed. Angela went to work, ate, and slept. Everything was so disgusting to her. Nothing pleased her. One evening, she saw her husband with a suitcase on a bench near the building. No, this was too much for her. She approached him. What are you doing here? Angela, I've come back to you. I realized that I was wrong. He said all this and walked toward the entrance. If everything would be as it was before, Angela would have been delighted to run ahead and open the doors for him. Jasper. He turned around. Jasper, where do you think you're going? Where am I going? Home. Maybe you forgot, but you left me for another woman. This is my house, and you have no business here. He grimaced. What? I left and you immediately got a new guy? Jasper grabbed her hand and squeezed it. You will be very sorry. You will cry and ask me for forgiveness on your knees. No one needs you. You are a complete fool. Take your hands off her, said a calm voice from behind them. A voice Angela would recognize anywhere. Jasper pulled his hands away from her. She turned around slowly. Chad. He was standing there, so big, so handsome. 2 hefty guys stood behind him. One of them asked, Mr. McBride, should we take him away? The man nodded. Just be careful. Don't hit him. The men grabbed the frightened Jasper by the arms and carried him aside. Trevor McBride, or as Angela called him, Chad, looked at her, and she looked at him. Tears started falling from her eyes. Suddenly, Trevor ran up to his car. He pulled out a huge bouquet and came to her again. Here, I forgot this. Trevor smiled as Angela rushed over to him. She hugged and kissed him and cried. He calmed her down. Why are you crying? Did I take too long? Sorry, I couldn't come back right away. Or... He looked into her eyes. What? Did you think I wouldn't come back?" Angela nodded and started crying even harder. The phone was exploding in her pocket. Trevor reached for Angela's pocket. He wanted to turn it off, but it was Kate calling. "Hello?" There was silence. Then Trevor said, "For some reason, everyone's reacting awkward to me today." "Ed? Oh, damn it. Trevor?" "It's me." The man smiled widely. Angela listened. "Where were you? How did you return?" Trevor sighed. "Kate, I can't understand how you became a doctor, you know. You speak faster than you think." Kate laughed. When she began saying something, Trevor interrupted. "Is Brian with you?" "Yes." "Then come to our place quickly. We've got much to discuss." There was silence again, and then Kate's voice. "We're on our way." Angela heard everything. She agreed with everything, and she was finally happy.